was a bright and warm Thursday. The office was filled with quiet sounds. The soft tapping of keyboards, the low hum of printers, and the occasional ring of a phone outside. The sun was shining through the windows, painting golden squares on the floor. I had been sitting at my desk since morning, working on reports, answering emails, and sipping water from my favorite cup. The air conditioning made a soft buzzing sound above my head, and the smell of fresh paper mixed with the light scent of coffee from the kitchen area. When I looked at the clock on my monitor, it showed 12:15. I smiled. It was finally lunchtime. I stretched my arms, saved my work, and decided to leave the building for a while. It was too beautiful outside to stay indoors. There was a small park just across the street from our office. Nothing fancy, just a green space with benches, trees, and a few flower beds. But it was my favorite place to spend a quiet lunch break. Before leaving, I opened my lunchbox. Inside was a sandwich I had made that morning. Fresh bread, soft cheese, tomato slices, and lettuce with a little olive oil. It looked simple but delicious. I had also packed a small apple and a few cookies for dessert. On my way out, I stopped by the small coffee shop on the first floor of our building. The air inside smelled wonderful: roasted coffee beans, vanilla, and something sweet, maybe cinnamon rolls. The barista already knew my usual order. In a few minutes, I was holding a warm cup of cappuccino in my hands. The moment I stepped outside, the sunlight touched my face and I felt instantly better. The city around me seemed softer in the midday light. Cars moved slowly, people crossed the street talking and laughing, and a light breeze played with the leaves on the trees. I crossed the road carefully, holding my coffee and lunchbox, feeling a quiet happiness. The park was calm, the grass was green and soft, and the air smelled of flowers and freshly cut plants. I found my usual spot, under a big tree that gave just enough shade to make it comfortable. I spread my light jacket on the grass and sat down. It felt wonderful to be outside after a long morning in the office. I could hear birds somewhere above and the distant sound of children playing near the fountain. I opened my lunchbox, took a bite of the sandwich, and smiled. It tasted even better than I had expected. Fresh, light, and full of flavor. The bread was slightly crunchy and the tomatoes were sweet. Then I took a sip of my coffee. It was warm and smooth with a little foam still on top. I closed my eyes for a moment and just enjoyed the taste, the air, and the quiet rhythm of the city around me. For a few minutes, I didn't think about work or emails or deadlines. I simply existed in that peaceful space, a small island of calm in the middle of a busy day. I was halfway through my sandwich when I noticed familiar voices nearby. I looked up and saw two of my colleagues walking along the path, each carrying a paper cup and a small takeaway box. They spotted me almost at the same moment. With friendly smiles, they walked over to where I was sitting. I moved my jacket a little so they could sit on the grass next to me. It was nice to see them outside the office, without computers, without papers, without that serious work face. Here in the park, everyone looked different, more relaxed and alive. They settled down beside me, laughing about something that had happened earlier that morning. The warm sunlight made their faces glow slightly. And for a while, it felt like we were just friends having a picnic, not coworkers, taking a lunch break. The talk began with small things. The weather, the flowers in the park, the coffee we each had. But soon, it drifted into more interesting topics. Someone mentioned movies, and that was enough to make the conversation flow naturally. We talked about the latest films that had come out. One of my colleagues had recently watched a new science fiction movie and described it with such enthusiasm that I felt like I had already seen it. I thought about how nice it would be to go to the cinema one evening after work, just to escape from everything for a couple of hours. Then, another colleague brought up the topic of music. He had been listening to the new album by Billie Eilish, and his eyes lit up as he described it. He said the songs were calm, deep, and emotional. I hadn't heard the new album yet, but I made a mental note to check it out later that night. As they spoke, I realized how much I enjoyed hearing other people's thoughts about art, about stories, sounds, and feelings. It reminded me that there was so much beauty outside the world of spreadsheets and office emails. The sun was high now, shining through the leaves of the tree above us. It made small patterns of light on the grass. The air felt warm, but not too hot, just perfect. The gentle wind carried the smell of coffee, flowers, and city life. I finished my sandwich and started on the apple. The crisp sound of the first bite made everyone laugh for some reason, and the moment felt simple, but beautiful. There was something special about eating outside, the freshness of the air, the sound of people passing by, the open sky above. It made everything taste better, even an ordinary homemade sandwich. My colleagues shared some of their food too, a small box of noodles and a chocolate muffin. We all laughed about how we had become a little group of food critics, comparing textures and flavors as if we were in a restaurant. After a while, the conversation slowed. The park seemed even quieter now. The sound of traffic across the street faded, replaced by the soft rustle of leaves. We sat there for a few minutes without saying much, just enjoying the peaceful atmosphere. The grass felt cool under my hands and the sun warmed my face. I thought about how moments like this often go unnoticed. Small pauses in busy days that remind us that life can be gentle and kind. I felt grateful for the sunshine, for the food I had made, for the laughter of my colleagues, for the simple joy of being outside. Eventually, the clock on my phone told me it was time to go back. We all sighed a little, not ready to leave the comfort of the park. But work was waiting. I packed up my lunchbox, threw away the empty coffee cup, and stood up. My colleagues did the same. We looked around one last time, at the green grass, the trees, the bright sky, and then crossed the street back to the office. Inside, the air felt cooler, and the lights brighter. The familiar sound of keyboards returned. I sat at my desk again, opened my laptop, and started working. But something inside me had changed slightly. I felt lighter, more relaxed, more human. The afternoon passed quietly. I typed, read emails, and made a few calls. But every now and then I caught myself smiling for no reason. I remembered the park, the taste of the sandwich, the sound of the wind in the leaves, the laughter, and the talk about Billie Eilish's songs. At one point, I even put on my headphones and searched for her new album online. As the first song began, a soft voice filled my ears, calm and a little mysterious. It matched perfectly with the feeling of that lunch break, gentle, thoughtful, a little dreamy. The music made the rest of my workday flow easily. Even the usual noise of the office seemed softer, as if the world had slowed down a little. When the day ended, I turned off my computer and looked out the window. The sunlight was fading, painting the sky in warm colors, gold, pink, and soft purple. People were already leaving the building, heading home. Maybe some of them remembering the same peaceful lunch in the park.